Hey friends, happy 2025. To get the year off to a great start, I'm going to show you in this video how to scrape Crunchbase and PitchBook for as low as 8 cents across a huge data set of companies. And specifically, this tactic applies for any open source websites out there, where first of all, the first step is for us to actually find the actual company page on a platform like Crunchbase or PitchBook. And then secondly, after that, to scrape all the information completely for free without having to tie you into an expensive subscription with one of those data providers. So the way we'll do that is using two main tools. The first tool will mimic what we would do otherwise manually. So in other words, typically you would basically go and Google for a company. So you would typically go and Google, let's say, Triply Crunchbase. Triply is the name of a company. And in case, let's say, like I'll put triply.cc Crunchbase, and you should be redirected to, you will then find a company page like this, which is Triply's funding page, which shows that they raised this amount of funding, right? But as you can tell, this is super manual, and we can automate this. And the way we'll do that is through using this tool called Serpa Dev. And once again, you can get it for free. You get 2,500 free Google searches on them. So no harm in getting it. Go try it out. And then secondly, there is another tool called Zenrose, which costs 0.08 per 1,000 requests. So in other words, to scrape 1,000 companies, you're going to pay 8 cents, which once again, I don't know how they can afford to provide a service for that fee, right? So essentially, let's go back to the step-by-step guide. The first thing you need is the website of a company that you want to scrape, like their company page, their Crunchbase, their PitchBook, whatever it is. As soon as you have that, you can normalize their domain, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. Then after that, you will perform a Google search using Serpa Dev, and all of that happens inside of Clay. And then step 4, you will then scrape the the actual Crunchbase page using Zenrose. And at the end, you basically get AI to interpret all of this information. So once again, I can show you the finished product, which is polished off and sexy and beautiful, but realistically, I just want to walk you through step by step about how to set this up. And as I just mentioned, it starts with the first step, which is basically you having a list of company websites, which looks something like this. So you basically have a company website and we have the normal domain of the company. But in this case, if you just have a messy website like this one here, all we have to do is click on formula and say, grab the domain from the company website. And that should clean up the domain for us to make it sound, a tiny bit better. So that's already first step done, which is step 1, normalize company domain. Right? So that's the first step. Now we're moving on to the second step. And the second step is just basically performing a Google search using Serpa Dev. And once again, for the purpose of this, you can just go get a free Serpa Dev account. Super straightforward. I'm sure you can figure it out. And when you're inside of Clay, you'll click on Add Enrichment. You'll type in HTTP API. And over here, you will basically add your account details. And just to spare you all the API setup and all that boring stuff, you can click on Browse Templates. And there should be a template here which says something like Serpa Dev. And you can just basically select that template and copy and paste the query. And once again, this query, you can either copy and paste it now or make sure to link it underneath wherever you're watching this video. By the way, if you're watching it not on YouTube, you can get all of these videos on YouTube with all the step-by-step guides linked underneath them. And I'll make sure to link the YouTube channel down below so you can subscribe to it as well. So essentially, in this case, we're going to perform a Google search and using Serpa Dev, and we want to mimic what a manual Google search would look like. So in this case, we're going to say crunchbase.com organization/company domain. And here I'm just going to put the company domain. So let's just do that, company domain. And now we're going to save and run 10 rows. Now I'm a bit bold with running 10 rows. You could probably run a lot less than that. So let's just see what it comes up with. Now it gives us 200. 200 means that this ran correctly. And once again, this is perfect. So if we click on one of the outputs, whoops, I think I just messed it up. If we click on this Triply output, we should click on organic. And the first search here should be their link to their Crunchbase, right? So we'll call it Crunchbase link. And what we've achieved here in the last 2 steps is, first of all, like normalizing the company website. Number 2 is step 2, find Crunchbase URL. And now we're just left with the simplest part of how to actually scrape this Crunchbase URL. And for that, all we need to do is click on Add Enrichment. We'll type in Zenrose. Now, bonus points, if you actually have a Zenrose API, once again, I think they're quite generous with their free trials. You can get like a lot of free credits on them as well. Unfortunately, I don't have a referral link to plug you with. And here, all we need to do is just input the Crunchbase link that we've just found earlier. And make sure to select the render JavaScript proxy and those two specifically, because otherwise it would not run properly. And now we'll save and run 10 rows, and we should be getting a successful scrape of all of these companies. Well, assuming you're not an idiot like I am, because I think something was wrong there. So it says purchase a new subscription to continue using the service. That's a bit peak. But in the meantime, we'll probably have to switch to the Clay API. And there we are. I think it should be successful right now. Voila, absolutely happy days here. Right, what we're going to do now is I'm going to just put step 3, scrape, Crunchbase. And once again, at this moment in time, if you click on each individual result, you would see all the information. So we have their company description, we have the links to all their like LinkedIn, and all of that fancy stuff at the bottom here. So we have all their funding information, like how much they raised, who bought them, and so on. You also have their email addresses. So although it will be like generic company addresses, this is quite useful. And on top of that, let's see what else we have. Like social links, we have their Facebook, we have their LinkedIn, we have their Instagram. So once again, we can go and scrape those. We have all the keywords. We have some phone numbers, which potentially is good for any cold callers out there. And I know that they basically provide a lot more information here. So we can even go as far as actually scraping, I think, looking at their traffic. So like their website traffic. Or maybe it's not possible here. But the whole point being that you have so many data points, the exact data points is what Crunchbase provides you. And as a next step afterwards, and I'm not going to show you how to do this part because, we can go on a slight tangent there, but you can then use AI to basically feed all of that data into it and say, hey, this is how much money they raised, generate a first line based on that, right? Or something of that sort. Now, if you enjoyed this video and if you want the guide, if you're watching this on YouTube, the guide will be linked right underneath, and the guide will contain the exact clay table so that you can basically copy and paste it for yourself. Or if you want the guide and you're watching this on LinkedIn, you can comment something below, something like Crunchbase, and I'll make sure to share this guide with you so you can get access to the clay table and you can rewatch this video in your own time whilst you're basically scraping all of these websites. Worth noting that it's the same principle applies for PitchBook as well. So on PitchBook, the only thing that you would need to change is when you go on edit the column, you'll basically have to edit the column here to be pitchbook.com/organization. And then once again, you'll be able to scrape PitchBook the exact same way. And finally, a quick disclaimer, it's totally legal. You're allowed to scrape open source websites because once again, if you could visit them freely yourself, why are you not able to scrape them? And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like because, that would help a lot. And make sure on top of that, that you comment Crunchbase down below so I can share this wonderful guide with you so that you don't have to go through the manual trial and error of trying to figure this out yourself. All the best. I'll see you in the next video.